All right. Hello, fans and friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Astrokara, and I'm super excited to be joined today with my good friend and fellow astrologer, Adrian Gibson of Just Kieran Astrology. And we're going to talk about the Sagittarius new moon that's happening tomorrow for us, December 19th. And I'm excited to see what we come up with.
Yeah, well, hello everybody. I'm glad to be here. It's been since January that I've done a collaboration with anybody, and I'm very excited to do this with Kara because we chat a lot and seem to be following a very similar pathway. And yeah, I thought that for this new moon, it would be nice to like step back into that collaboration time. And so. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thanks, Kara, for being here with me.
Took a little while to get our schedules figured out, but we got it. And so now
Yeah,
we're
we
here,
did.
and I'm glad.
We did. Absolutely.
Because there's a lot to
Um,
talk about. Hopefully we can
oh,
kind of
it's a big
condense it,
one.
but it's exciting. We are on the precipice of some good changes, and
It's
it's going to feel a little destabilizing, I think, for a lot of us if we've not been kind of putting in the work to do our inner work stuff.
yeah,
But it is a huge opportunity for humanity to leap into a new realm. I mean, I've heard different people call it the quantum leap, and I feel like that's that's true.
yeah. And I agree with that. In fact, I've recently heard that really the doorway, it's not going to like open and shut, but that we have really all of 2026
Mm.
because it's 2027 that we actually birth the new human and step into that. And so we have time for people that haven't done a lot of the work yet. This is really the beginning of being able to shed the old paradigm, and
Yes.
for those of us that have been working on shedding the old paradigm, we can step forward in the role of guides to help other people do the same because we're all trying to help each other walk each other home, as
Yep, as Rumi would
the
say,
saying
yes.
goes.
That's one of my favorites, and I think that's true. And that's, obviously that's the work that I do. My followers know that. That's the work that Adrian does as well through our astrology. And yeah, we're just here. We're human as well, and we're just learning and growing at the same time, but trying to be that guide through this paradigm that we understand as evolutionary astrology.
Yeah. All right. So shall I bring up the chart and let's start talking about it?
Sounds
'Cause
good.
there's a lot.
Let's see. I
Can
got
you
to look
see
at my
that?
bigger
Pick it
screen
up.
because my older eyes.
Okay. No, I like that how you have that set up.
I love being able to look at the bigger screen. Yeah, so where would you like to start? I mean, my goodness, I guess we could start with the sun and the moon because
Yeah,
that's, what we're here to
let's
talk
go
about.
right into that new moon. Why don't you go ahead and give your interpretation and then I'll give mine and then I mean, I'm sure they're going to be very, very similar. So
Yeah, we were trained by the same mentor, so yes, we do have very
true,
similar
true.
ways of looking at things. But I love so my brain, my thought process is very logical. I'm very Gemini energy, and Adrian has a lot of Piscean energy, a lot of Aquarian energy. So she brings that balance of, the spiritual to my very logical. So I love that. And here we
Perfect.
are kind of talking about that, the mutable energies, the mutable cross. We don't have anything in Gemini right now, but we have Mercury there with this stellium here in Sagittarius. And of course, our nodes in Virgo Pisces. So let me start with the Sagittarius energy. We talked a little bit about this before about how it's right on the galactic center. So I'll let you speak into that as well. But Sagittarius, we often talk about it. It's known in astrology, it's ruled by Jupiter. So it's about this exploration, it's about knowledge and learning and higher learning. I think where EA kind of takes it into a little bit different or maybe deeper realm is that it's about natural law. And it's also about our right brain. It's about our intuition. And it's also about truth overall. but then what is truth? And here's where it's Mercury squaring the nodes, right? What's real? What's true? And how does that then translate to me, to each of you, to each of us? Um, and I think the shadow of some of that is that we try to outrun that truth by staying busy, or like the monkey mind gets going, and we just keep going on to these tangents of, well, I'll just go do this, or I'll go do this, and we have a harder time sometimes sitting with that until our truth can speak to us. So I'll pause there and let you step in.
Yeah. Like you said, right on the galactic center. I think I don't actually know what the minutes are of the galactic center, but we're within 1 degree, which tells me that we're really, it's like that first step of moving forward, of aligning our inner worlds and the way that we shine our lights into the world with this natural law that you're speaking of. And I've been talking about how human law and natural law are very, very different. Um, Natural law is the way we can perceive it when we're watching nature,
Mm.
and everything is in balance with each other, life and death, water, no water, all of the seasons, all of this is this really intricate balance that it all feeds itself. Like you don't have to do anything to it. And one of the things that has been happening since we've been in the paradigm that we've been in, which is, the paradigm of the patriarchy, which is like an external control where, we don't like the fact that there are wild animals, so we obliterate them. And then we realize, oh my gosh, when we do that, let's put them back in. Like we're messing with the balance of nature. And so I feel like this new moon is this ability to realign with this natural law and to try to move humanity through each of us, because it's, the collective is really a collective of all the individuals, and you can't really change stuff from the outside. It really has to come from within each of us. Um, and as we begin to change and shed these layers of external control, we'll see it in the collective. And so, yeah, going back to this square to the nodes with Mercury, Mercury is, the trickster. And so, with this perception, and everybody has a perception of reality. And um, in this paradigm we're in, our perceptions are highly controlled. So we do this through, the culture that we live in. And so everybody's perception is different because there's so many different cultures. And then we're conditioned into our cultures. Here in the West, we're conditioned, first through our parents and then through our schools. And then we start to condition ourselves, around the age of 14 or so, when we step into our peer groups, and we don't want to, we're attracted to that peer group because this is what we want to grow into.
Mhm.
We don't want to be alone. We want to be accepted by our peers. And so we begin to shed different layers of ourselves to fit in. And then it goes on and on. But this Mercury energy, it's interesting because it has these elements of paradox where two things can be true at the same time, or that we can hide the truth. There's this energy of omission, or we can put out untruths. And so it's very difficult, I think, to navigate what the truth is, particularly during these times when we have AI and all of this stuff where, I mean, you can see all kinds of things, but is it really true? Because we can manipulate everything. And so I think that this square to the nodes is really this shift from feeling this energy, like Kara was saying about, the monkey mind and the doing stuff. I would go with that with the Virgo
Hmm.
to of it's like an avoidance
And that's still
almost.
Pisces as well. That escapism is some of the Pisces bringing that in as well.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
and
jumped in.
yeah, sure. And then the other side of the Pisces. So the way I've been talking about Virgo and Pisces is one is the wholeness and one is the separation.
Yes.
And when we see ourselves through the lens of separation, really what that means is that we're looking at ourselves, South Node, or, from the past, and most of us still, through the eyes of what other people will think. Do we
Hmm.
fit in with the external? And then the other side of it is through this perception of compassion and understanding that we're all part of the whole and that we're one all making mistakes and that we're all adjusting and we're all growing. And I think that this is this Mercury square where we're literally having to choose which
Hmm.
side do we want to follow? Do we want to stay in this perception where we're all different and separate? Because, I mean, we can look out of our eyes and see that that does not do well for the world and the people of the world when we see ourselves as separate, because then we got all this war and stuff going on, or as we all really all one and walking each other home, like we said in the beginning. So yeah,
And
that's what
that's
I
so
have to say
beautiful.
about.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. That's beautiful. And I think that brings in what you were talking about, the oneness and versus us seeing ourselves as separate. And there's a difference between seeing ourselves as separate and seeing ourselves as individuals. And we've talked about this a lot. Anybody that's followed us knows that we talk a lot about Pluto and Aquarius. And this is for the next, 19 to 20 years. This is about individuation. It's about how do we really accept and understand our own uniqueness and then bring it back into the collective. And so I just want to make that little adjustment for anybody who might be thinking, oh, wait a minute, we've been talking about individuation, but it's about not recognize understanding individuation is different from separateness. I guess that's where I was going with that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you brought in Pluto because EA talks about Pluto being the bottom line. The bottom line is we are individuating, and yes, it is very different than separateness. I remember our mentor once said that Aquarius was like the fingers of a glove, or how did he describe it? Like the superheroes, the group of superheroes. Each superhero is a force unto themselves, but when they come together, they are just unstoppable. And to
Mhm.
me, that's the epitome of the Aquarian archetype. But in order to reach that unstoppability, we each have to come back into ourselves and understand who we are as individuals because of that, all of that conditioning that we've gone through, even the self-conditioning that we've endured to just be able to fit in. And I think that the energies that have been coming on for quite some time, but that are really, they're pushing us to become that true inner self. One, because the polarity point of Pluto is Leo, and Leo is the inner child. It's that being that we were when we were born, before the conditioning. And this is where we're headed to come back to that being, that individual being that, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that distinction between the individuality and the separateness. I knew
Yeah.
that our collaboration would be good.
I love it. I know because we riff off of each other so well, I think. And
Yeah.
coming back to the Sagittarius energy when we were talking about, so to me also when think about the nodes, yes, we talk about the South Node being our past, our collective past. In Virgo, about that separateness, about hierarchy, about all the things that we do to try to be good and try to earn affection or earn acceptance. And then Pisces being the whole and understanding that we are all one, and it's our link to spirituality, link to the divine. And I think part of that, this mutable energy, because even though the lunation isn't squaring the nodes, it's still, in that mutable energy. And part of that is, when we talked about natural law, we talked about learning, knowledge. Sagittarius is also about honesty. And I've been talking a lot about this, we and you've been talking a lot about external control versus getting back into our own understanding of ourselves. And that's what the powers that be want. They want to not have us connected to ourselves because we're easier to control that way. And that's just the paradigm that we're in. But us taking back our power is a huge thing. And it's very broad, when we talk about pull back your power, take back your power. And that can come in many, many different ways. It can look like many different ways. But going back to the honesty piece, to me, what I've been talking about a lot is we have to get real honest with ourselves. And this includes looking at those defense mechanisms, looking at our protective mechanisms, looking at where we have taken on those truths that don't belong to us. They never were ours. That conditioning that says, you're too much or you're not good enough or whatever it might be, those were never ours. And so we've adapted them, like you talked about. We want to fit in. And so we've shifted ourselves and made ourselves into these, containers. Our containers are changing. And part of this is Mars and Capricorn. So I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I wanted to come back to the Sagittarius energy and the honesty and about being real honest with ourselves of where we've picked up stuff that doesn't belong to us and where we're ready to let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree. It's as part of the Mars and Capricorn. One of the things that I was noticing about the Venus and Mars flanking either side of this moon is like, wow, if that's not symbolic, like,
Can't
so
make this stuff up, right?
yeah, right. Like, how I can't remember who wrote the book or even where that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, that I think it came out in the 70s. It's like this feminine archetype, which is generally held by the Venus energy. It's the energy um, of holding space, really. And then Mars is the action energy that this literally is. It's talking about the balance that I mentioned earlier that natural law holds. And so we have this closing conjunction with Venus to like end the truth of Venus that has been pushed down. We're ending that cycle. And then Mars is really taking on this whole new structure, which we're, Mars has passed through this galactic center as well. And then Venus will come on and finish it all up here, not too much time. So yeah, I think, and then, Pluto has been through Capricorn. We've been working on becoming our own authority. And this is just, to me, this really the beginning of stepping into that role, stepping into, oh, yeah, being honest with ourselves, and choosing truth,
Mhm.
choosing truth, like not being afraid to like disagree and put out your perspective. Holding true to who you are is really important during these times.
Yeah. And I think with that, I'll bring in, this again, this square to Neptune, now direct in Pisces at 29 degrees. I mean, we as a collective, we're not going to see this again in our lifetime, unless somehow humanity extends our lifetimes for, centuries. But, if you want to become transhuman and extend your life, then maybe. But anyway, 29 degrees Pisces, Neptune in its own sign. We are ending a huge cycle. And with this
Mm.
lunation square that, if you've not already been feeling the the disillusionment, the loss of meaning. I mean, it's going to be very strong, I think, this week during this lunation. I've been feeling it.
Yeah,
And when we talk about disillusionment, also, it's like, it feels like things that once had meaning don't really mean as much anymore, or things that you once thought don't really hold up substance anymore. Or, it's also been a little challenging because people in my life that I'm seeing and clients, it's almost like a losing of yourself, which that's the purpose. But in that, because we're so ingrained in our 3D world, how do I define myself? When I don't have that definition, then, it's like we're grasping at straws and we don't know. It feels really uncomfortable to not have something to hold on to. And so that brings us back into ourselves, brings us back into our centers. And that's where we need to begin to trust again. I've been talking a lot about trust. And to me,
absolutely.
that's Venus as well, and Uranus and Taurus. So thank you for bringing
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And this really is the opportunity as everything is dissolving. I mean, so Karen and I were talking last week, and I was talking about how this Neptune in Pisces at the 29th degree, that's like the Pisces energy times three. It's intense, like this huge tsunami wave that's just coming to like whoosh, wipe all of that away. And then, like you just said, who are we after that? I mean, and Mars in Capricorn, here we're stepping in to redefine who we are from this inner place of this natural place, this place, this polarity point of Pluto, which is we actually can't lose connection to who we are. It's just been covered over by these layers. And as these layers are whooshed away, what we're going to be sitting with is this the core of who we are. And this will be the redefinition and the rediscovery of who that is over these next, you know, unfolding of reality.
And that's what I think is so beautiful, is as difficult and challenging as this disillusion and flooding and, washing away can be, if we can look at it like an adventure. Here it brings in our Sagittarius energy. I get to discover something new about myself, or rediscover something about myself that's been buried for a long time, or that's been, forgotten. And how exciting can that be?
It
Um,
is.
and I wanted to say something else about, you reminded me from our talk last week when you talked about the tsunami, because what happens naturally in the world we can observe after a flood or after a tsunami. Yes, it's devastating. I don't want to take away from that. But once the waters recede and everything is settling down, that earth, that soil becomes really, really fertile.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about this planting of these seeds that's coming from this galactic center, reflected from our sun and coming back to us. And, if you want to bring in 3i Atlas, we talked a little bit about that. It's made its pass through Mars, coming back through Venus, and it's going to be closest to Earth. A lot of us are talking about it being a seeding. And I really do also believe that we're coming online in a new way.
Yeah, I think so. And what's interesting is I think I heard the other day that when it first came into our awareness, it was near Jupiter, and on its way out, it's going to be near Jupiter. And Jupiter is the ruler of this seeding
Yeah.
right now. I just find it so interesting. There's so much symbolism
Mhm.
that is coming online, which to me is part of this Jupiter energy.
Mhm.
Is, while the Geminian energy is very logical and uh, sequential, straightforward, it's taken in through what we can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. But Jupiter, because it was like the original ruler of Pisces, has this connection to Pisces in this unseen place. Like they're linked. And Pisces it doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't have any, there's no set thing. But what happens is there are symbols that are associated through the Pisces archetype. And we see symbols all the time. It's just what symbols do, connect with us in particular. And so I think that that's what this Jupiter in Cancer is about. And we've been here since last July, and we'll be here until I
June,
believe
July-ish.
June,
Yeah.
July-ish somewhere. Um, but it's about really turning inward and really receiving this truth through this emotional, well, I mean, there's all kinds of symbolism here, but it's about the truth of who we really are. Who are we embodying in ourselves, and allowing the symbolism to come through and connect with us in very subtle ways, which, will happen differently for every person because that's the reality. We are all different and we all have this very particular role to play in this journey of the collective birthing of what's coming forward. So I think it's interesting. Both you and I drew a card.
Yeah, if you want to share
Well,
yours, that'd be great. I think
sure.
people would appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I just as I sat down, I thought, okay, I'm gonna shuffle these cards, and two fell out. The first card, actually don't even know the name of this deck. It was gifted to me, and it doesn't have a book, but this is the child. So I linked that to the inner child. This is the Leo archetype that I was speaking about. That is the opposite energy of where Pluto is, and how I've been talking about that we're coming into contact with this inner child. And then the crow energy, which I actually just learned that all birds, I just learned this like an hour ago, that all birds symbolize the goddess energy because
Mm,
they're part of the natural world and they live in all parts, water, earth, and sky,
mm.
which I was like, wow, I love it. So I did pick the crow, and so
I
I
love
think
it. And I
it's,
feel like it symbolizes wisdom as well. Whenever I see
yeah,
a crow, that's the symbol that to me represents. And they're talking about symbols and synchronicities and how it resonates differently with each of us. And that's so much about what I've been talking about too with, Sagittarius and getting back to what's naturally true for us and then understanding Venus, what we value, what's true and what's important to us individually. And so, like you said, the divine spirit, source, God, however you want to label it, speaks to us in those subtleties in different ways. And it's about learning then to trust what we're seeing because externally we've been taught that that doesn't matter, shove it away, that's not true. And so it really is about becoming coming back to ourselves in that way. And one of the I pulled a card as well, so I wanted to share this. One of the things about Pluto and Aquarius is also about collaboration. When we're talking about humanity, we're doing a collaboration today. And I'm like, you can't make this stuff up, right?
no,
So let me see if I can get it in the camera. It's a picture of a beehive. This is from the moon deck. And then it says, collaboration brings sweetness, more sweetness into my life and into my world. And I love that. I mean,
yeah, I do
it's
too.
true.
And it's an interesting thing that the honeybee is, as a symbol, is, they're very social creatures and they have they're actually a goddess culture.
They're all
Pretty
female.
much,
Yeah, all the worker bees are female.
except for the drones, and the drones are only there to help fertilize the queen,
Mhm.
which is so interesting. Um, but they have a social structure that is in balance. They live in balance with nature. Um, and we will again too. I think that's the whole point of it all. Um, I did want to mention about this energy of coming into our hearts and our true sense of self, and how there's a little bit of fear with that because we think we'll be rejected, but this energy of being true to ourselves gives us the opportunity to vibrate our true frequency out there. And because everything is frequency, when we can vibrate that true frequency, we will draw toward us the matching frequencies, and we won't be alone. We'll actually be held in this place where there's understanding and acceptance and mutual admiration and this whole different energy. So it's really, while there is this uncomfortability that is happening with this shifting and changing, ultimately what it will lead to is more growth and more being held and more love and those things that we crave as humans.
I love that. And that just speaks to Jupiter Cancer to me. Like that's that belonging, that's that being held. And to me, this retrograde has also been about, well, the whole transit actually of Jupiter through Cancer has been about reconnecting to that emotional container. The polarity to Cancer is Capricorn, which is our container, and it's helping us to expand Jupiter, our sense of, what our emotional intelligence level is. And I don't like to use the word level because I don't like to use hierarchy, but what our emotional intelligence is and how we reconnect to that, and then how we can expand that container to fill it with more understanding of ourselves. I'm going to look at my notes too, because I know there was more stuff we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Well, you're
Um,
looking at, I can jump right in and talk a little bit about this Saturn-Neptune conjunction because it's
yes.
big here, where both planets have been retrograde as we've been accelerating these energies in between us. Now both are going direct. And they are to meet together at the 0 point of Aries on the 20th of February. So I'm looking at that as like the beginning of this new energy. One of the things that the symbols of Pisces is the dream. It's because it's not boundaried, it's just very ethereal. And we all dream at night. Some of us dream during the day. Me. There's this just dreamy energy. And when you have Saturn there with Neptune, this is the ability to like crystallize the dream. And so I remember a really good friend of mine as well, I don't even actually remember what the alignment was, but this ability to dream big. Like dream big now because we have the opportunity to crystallize it in our future. Um, and so, yeah, I think that this is what is happening. So, as we align with this new moon, which is connected to Pisces because it's Sagittarius, we have the ability, and I think this is the square I've been talking about. This is like the scribbling.
Yes.
It's all there.
Yes,
That
it's very, very present. All that, yeah. Like it
yeah,
does look like a scribble. Somebody came up and scribbled on it.
yeah, but it's like this. I mean, the third quarter square, interesting for everything but the sun, is literally about, breaking free from a truth we've been living. I mean, and it's not that it wasn't true for the time that we needed it. It's
Very
just that we
important.
are moving beyond. Sagittarius, it's about moving beyond, and we're going to align with a different truth. And we're all birthing that process, I think.
I love that. And I love that you brought that up because that's so important. I think with the South Node in Virgo, we can get stuck in judgmental mindsets. We can get stuck in shame. Like, oh, that was me before. And if I can't change, because then, again, what will people think? Or, what will, happen if I'm no longer that? Or, oh, I was so bad back then. And now, it doesn't have to be like that because there really is not meant to be any judgment. This is natural law. This is natural evolution. We are meant to grow and change. Some of us do it at different rates. Some of us do it at different, leaps and bounds. And it's okay. We're all meant to continually be on this growth spectrum, if you want to use that
I
word.
mean, that is the truth. That what do they say? That's the only constant is change.
Yeah.
We're always changing. So we just be accepting of that and go on with it.
And
You
that's
know,
our North Node in Pisces, is coming to that acceptance, self-acceptance, accepting other people's, ability to change, and, whether we need to adjust relationships, or sometimes relationships end, sometimes new relationships come in, that's all part of it. Sometimes we hold on to things, those attachments. This is part of Pluto. We are attached to the things that make us feel powerful or bring us something, and it also tells us when things need to end. But as humans, we want to hold on to things. So I don't know
yeah.
where I was going with that, but I think the whole idea
No, you're right
of
on.
letting go of things, Pisces letting go.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I did have in my notes about like Saturn Pisces and just all this nebulous ethereal energy that you were talking about is energetic and psychic hygiene, that I don't
Mhm.
know if most people know about or if they're familiar with. I mean, that's like a term that I use, but it's basically just really being kind of protective of your own energy, of your own aura, if you want to use that term.
Ooh, I like that.
When we're in connection with other people, when we're in the world, when we're out there doing, especially around the holidays in the West, we're out shopping, we're out running around doing all these things, we're going to visit family, and maybe there's tension in some of those relationships or whatever it might be. We are porous, energetic individuals, and we can absorb and give off energies. And so when I talk about energetic and psychic hygiene, it can be just as simple as setting an intention and kind of like brushing off the energy of the day, when you come home, or, setting the intention of, I'm letting that go. I'm not holding on to that other person's energy. Um, and I can't remember a study I just read about not too long ago about how that affects people, and how sometimes we end up feeling really weighted and even depressed because we're really carrying a lot of energetic baggage that's not ours.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, even just through what we take in through the television, for example, where we're holding on to a lot of stuff, and it makes it difficult. I mean, it's really it's stressful, but I like that, and that psychic hygiene. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just a term that I like to use. Yeah, and it can be as simple as really just setting an intention to release what doesn't belong to you. And then I also like to do a meditation, oftentimes at the evenings, of calling my power back. Again, it's just kind of setting that intention of wherever I've left it during the day, wherever it's gotten used, wherever it's been taken from me, because energy gets drawn from us as well. Call it back. Call it back into yourself before
Mm,
you close out the day and, go
it's
to
a good
sleep.
idea. Thank
Just
you.
kind of part of my hygiene, my spiritual hygiene practice.
I love that. I love that. So what else? Oh, I think that the only thing we really haven't talked about is Chiron.
Mm,
And Chiron is really important here because, well, Chiron's been working its way through the sign of Aries for a little while, and it's going to station very soon. In fact,
mhm.
it may already be stationing. I'm not sure. I know it's not going any further back than 22.
Yeah, I want to
Um,
say it's stationing now, but I can't remember exactly what day.
yeah, I can't either, but and then it'll continue on through, but Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's about this collective wound that we all carry, each one of us in our own way, about being fearful to show up for our true selves. We all have this hesitancy, and this, links to the Pluto energy and through the Virgo energy. It's all linked to this place where we've just been fearful of showing up as our true self, and
Fearful of rejection, more specifically.
And of being rejected. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely the rejection part of it, and which would be the only reason I think to be fearful. Just, but
Or fear
yeah,
of, yeah, some type of retaliation or whatever the feedback might be. That's because when we're
yeah,
home alone, I think, I mean, for me, I understand, I like being in my own space. I like being with myself. I
me
feel
too.
safe. And then I'm just going to bring in too, and I'm going to come back to you, that square to Jupiter, which you may also be wanting to talk about, because it's exact at this lunation,
It
and
sure is.
and it's a big deal, and that's where our emotions are being held right now. So back to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go on and talk about it then because Jupiter is pointing to Cancer and Chiron to Aries, and this is all about the self and our inner world and our emotional world. And it's a first quarter, so it's about taking the leap, essentially choosing to align our truth with what's coming from within, and because the energy of Chiron is really helping us to heal that wound of rejection. So
And
it
unfortunately, the only way to get over it or get through it, I don't want to say get over it, to move through it, to grow through it, is to do it.
is to do it.
That's Aries, we
Yeah, it
and then
is. And I call it jumping from the train. Like
yes.
the train's going that way, but I got to get off here. You're just going to have to go for it and trust. It's the leap of faith, really.
Yes. It's
Um,
we use the word threshold earlier when we were talking, and that's, we have to make a choice. Whenever I talk about the first quarter square, I talk about a choice point, and
yep.
it brings up this, it's separation anxiety. It's, I'm familiar and comfortable with what I know, and I got to
Yes.
do something different. I got to make this choice to move in a different direction, or act differently, respond differently, and it's scary, but it's necessary for our growth.
Yeah.
So yes, it's that stepping over the threshold, stepping through the door, jumping off the
Yep.
train.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what it is. And we're all going to have to be making this step because I mean, we're being comfortable in the way that we are, but the comfortability it just popped into my head that frog in the well
Yeah,
thing. This like there's this story about a frog, not the frog in the well, but that the frog is in a pot of boiling water.
yeah,
And as you turn up the heat, it gets a little uncomfortable, but it's warm and cozy. But then it starts to get too hot. And if you stay there too long, you're just not going to survive it. You really do have to jump out of that pot. And I think that that's what that square is talking about. And it's interesting because it's trine to the stellium and it's uh, square to Jupiter, and Jupiter is in conjunct to the stellium. So, yeah, it's almost like there's an energy that's flowing to do it, but there's also the inability to see
hmm
that that's what will line us to where our truth is. So there is that leap of faith that you have to take. You just have to make
and
the
that's about
adjustment.
Sagittarius as well, right? It is
And
about
that's
faith.
this
It's,
whole mutable energy is yeah. And
I
really,
love
as
that.
you
I
were
love that description. I love that you brought that analogy because it's so true. And that's the thing. We can't see it when we're in it,
no,
oftentimes. We don't have, and that's part of what I think this energy is bringing us, is the ability to see beyond. It's that
yes,
farsightedness that if you can dream it, Pisces, you can
yes,
go for it, build it, they will come kind of thing. It's just,
absolutely,
it's,
absolutely.
but we start within ourselves, as we've been saying.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Do you have anything else to add? I mean, I feel like we ran through this chart and I mean, it'll be interesting to come back and listen, but I think we did a good job.
I do too. I think we got through all the pieces. I think the only other thing that I wanted to mention, because you brought in the polarity point of Leo and how it's reconnecting to our inner child and that joy,
Yeah.
that sense of creative expression. And we talk a lot too about this idea of heart coherence. So if no
Thank you.
one's familiar with that, I wanted to bring that in. And I actually did a talk on the EA Zoom platform. It was my first one a couple of years ago, about heart-mind coherence. And to me, this is Aquarius Leo energy. This is, how do we balance here and here? We
Yeah.
can know something here. This is our Gemini Sag. We have the understanding, we have the knowledge, but until we get it here and really resonate it in our body, then we know it. Then
Yeah.
it's embodied.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, it's just bringing those two back in line is
Yeah.
also what I think we're working on in general overall.
Absolutely. It's the inner knowing, which is also Sagittarius, Jupiter energy.
I love it. And it because it feels a little bit more as heavy as I think these transits have been, especially with Neptune and Saturn being when they were retrograde. I
Yeah.
feel like there's some momentum that's building. We're feeling it a little bit. And then when everything moves into Capricorn, there's going to be some real opportunities to create some new structures, if you want to use that word, to create some new
Yeah.
containers, or rearrange it so that it's going to take us forward. And then of course, all the excitement will start
Yeah.
in 2026 when everything
Absolutely.
moves.
And the containers that we create are going to be directly related to the downloads that we all receive from within that are happening with this new seeding of
Yes.
our individual truths. And then we'll be able to like hold it once everything moves through Capricorn.
Yes, I love that. And that's how I'm feeling it as well.
Yeah.
So tell me before we get off, what you offer, because my fans and people might want to know what you do, and then I'll talk about what I do.
Sure. I have a Substack account that I've been working on and evolving for the last couple years, and it's I think we'll link it in the below because I don't have
Yes.
it right off the top of my head. But I also have a website at jaskarineastrology.com, and I offer various types of readings and consultations, um, talking about like how these particular alignments might be affecting you because your chart will line up a little bit differently than this one, but yet these will affect you in different ways. It'll affect everybody in different ways. And so, yeah, that's what I offer.
I love that. So yeah, lots of good stuff on your Substack. You go into very good details of the. Can you take the chart down for me?
Yeah, let's
I
take
can
it
see
down.
you a little bit better.
There we go.
I love. I follow Adrienne as well on her Substack, and make sure you want to subscribe. Most of her content is free, and so all of her moon reports are very detailed. And if you're really interested in understanding the aspects and things like that, you can definitely check it out. I also am on Substack. I tend to write and talk a little bit more in story form. There's my Gemini storytelling. And so I use a lot of analogies and metaphors. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. I'm over at astrokara.com. We'll link all this stuff in the description. And I also do readings. I do transit readings. I do birth chart readings. And my focus is actually what I call therapeutic astrology, where I bring in a coaching connection with the astrology. So your chart will ground the readings, the sessions, and then we work to move through some of your challenges and strengthen your strengths.
Beautiful. And I love your storytelling. I love the what you link to. It's perfect.
Yeah, I actually will bring this up because I'll probably link it when I put it on my YouTube. From the Gemini full moon, I used the analogy from the movie Avatar, and there's a new one. It comes out tomorrow. I love it. We're actually going to go see it this weekend. But if you haven't seen that movie, I totally encourage. I really, really, really highly recommend that movie. There's two of them now, and the third one coming out. But part of that is about seeing this people that live in harmony with their world and how they connect to it. And that's so powerful right now with this Sagittarius energy.
This,
So
I mean,
yeah,
I
I'm
don't think
gonna
it's any mistake that it's coming out
exactly.
tomorrow.
They know. They figure that stuff
They
out.
know.
Somebody's
They
got
know
an
what's up.
astrologer in Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Well, thank you
Well,
so much, Adrian. This has been wonderful. I'm so glad
thank
we
you,
finally got to
Tara.
connect.
I
And
really appreciate it.
me
Uh,
too. And so we'll see everyone. I got to give my classic sign off. Until next time, take care of you.
yeah, y'all take care. Have a great day and happy new moon in Sagittarius.